Hello and welcome to Court Case with me, your host, James Court. Today's show is sponsored by robinmayhew.co.uk. Robin Mayhew is a renowned and accomplished musical artist and sound engineer, and on his music store you can get such amazing performances as Lou Reed's live US tour in 1974 and David Bowie's final ever Ziggy Stardust concert from the Hammersmith Odeon in 1973. All of that, as well as Robin's own compositions such as English Country Girl and North South Divide, are all available on his own website, robinmayhew.co.uk. And with that, it's on with the show. Hello and welcome to Court Case with me, your host, James Court. Please listen on all streaming sites, iTunes, Spotify, we're on everything now. I'm joined today with a very special guest, my good friend Robin Mayhew.
Hello, Robin Mayhew here.
Robin is a good friend of mine, going back almost a decade now, and he's had a very colourful music career, working with people like David Attenborough, not David Attenborough, David Bowie, like that.
Got David Attenborough on the brain.
Yeah, it's because of your essay and stuff.
Oh, right, okay, we'll come to that, yeah.
Okay. But, so to start off, I know you're a big radio fan, but you're drifting from it a bit now, but have you heard about podcasts? Do you listen to any at all?
I must confess, I don't. Being now just turned 80,
yeah.
All these things I'm trying to catch up with, but I will certainly have a listen to me on this podcast.
Oh, yes, please.
On the Court Case.
Yeah, I want to be the first one that you listen to. But, I've found definitely in my experience recently that radio is very much dying and podcast seems to be on the up.
Oh, really? I mean, yeah, I guess so. I suppose people walking around with their mobile phones, jogging or walking or on the commuting will listen to podcasts. I mean, I must confess, in the car I have the radio on.
Yeah. But
I'm dodging every advert that comes on.
That's what's so frustrating about it. But it's for example, there's a radio host in America called Joe Rogan, and he started a podcast. And Spotify have made a multi-million-dollar deal with him to have his podcast on their platform. Yeah.
Really?
It's that popular, yeah.
Good Lord.
I think it's probably one of the reasons you said, for example, like radio ads and stuff. I think that's one of the reasons that people move on to podcasts, because they don't want to be clogged up with all of the ads.
Well, that's right. I mean, you have a great bit of music playing, and then you're blasted out with a shouting man telling you about products, and I don't need to know. Any product I want, I can just look at on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
If I want a new sofa, I can just have a look at my local branch. I don't have to be told, by some shouting cretin to go to some particular showroom because it's nothing to pay for 4 years. I don't need it.
It seems that DFS are just permanently on sale.
Yeah,
that's what it looks
an
like
SCS. That bloke shouting at us. God.
But well, it's the same with like TV streaming, because everyone just pays for Netflix and like Disney Plus now, so they don't get the adverts.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they should try doing that with music or radio.
Yeah, I mean, if there was an app where, say you're listening to Global Smooth Radio, and you switch on, and immediately it comes up, pay 50p, you can listen for the next hour with no ads. So you pay your 50p, you get no ads, and at the end of that hour, you could probably get 15 minutes of adverts. So there's still advertising and getting paid for it, but they're also getting a revenue from the public who just want to listen to the music.
Yeah, see, that's kind of Spotify's model.
Yeah. Except
it's all music, like no presenters. Obviously, I would like to see one that has like radio shows on it.
Exactly. So you get the empathy of the person who's putting the music on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get a bit of character. You feel for it.
That was one of my favourite things about some radio stations, is when you had for example, I worked for Capital, and they did their thing very much on what the chart music was, but I used to like the radio stations where the DJ would choose the music so you could see their personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Their playlist was.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Radio 2, BBC Radio 2 here in the UK used to be like that. Used to have wonderful DJs or hosts entertaining, and they would play music that they loved.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing would grow,
Yeah.
And many artists were launched through those sort of programs. I mean, it's an amazing thing when you go back to Terry Wogan and things like that.
Yeah, me and Dad used to listen to Terry Wogan every morning
Yeah.
when he'd drive me to school. I loved Terry. Okay, welcome back. So I wanted to talk about your career for a bit, because obviously you're obviously 80 now. You've had quite a ride career. How did the first thing that I personally have never really asked you is like, how did it start? How did you get into wanting to do music and your musical career?
Well, okay, at school, one of my schoolmates was the great late Dick Morrissey, who played clarinet, and we were in, I don't know, Form 4 or something, about 15, 16 years old, and we had a trad band.
Right.
And he was a wonderful clarinetist, and we had a trad band called the Delta City Jazzmen, and it evolved from that. And at the same time, there was Lonnie Donegan on the scene, and skiffle groups were starting.
Yeah.
And I bought a guitar and started strumming, and Dick Morrissey would play a T-chest bass, and we'd have a little break from playing the trad music when I played trumpet, and we'd do a bit of skiffle and things like that. So the guitar started, and from there it evolved. Electric guitars came on the scene. The rock and roll movement came from America with all these different artists, and it was like the American explosion over here. All this rock and roll, Bill Haley and the Comets and that sort of thing, Little Richard. So it all started there, and we formed a band called the Presidents in 1958.
Wow.
And we started playing clubs and pubs around South London, and it developed from there.
Yeah.
So it went on, and another schoolmate, the great Glyn Johns, who's now a legendary producer who did Joan Armatrading, the Eagles, the Rolling Stones, and Get Back by the Beatles. He produced those, but in his early days he was training to be a tape op at IBC Studios in London, and he would invite us up at the weekend to hone his skills at production.
That's so cool.
And he heard us playing this song Candyman, which was we had our own arrangement of it, and he loved it, and he said, come and record it. So we did, and he gave it to Decca, who signed us immediately. Did a photo shoot, all very exciting. And then Decca, who had a band called Brian Poole and the Tremolos, they played it to Brian Poole.
Okay.
And Brian Poole said, yeah, we want to do it. So they cut it and released it at the same time, and we had to relegate ours to a B-side.
Oh, no.
So Candyman was a B-side, but we got it released anyway.
Yeah.
But it was a bit lost in the things. But then it went on. We carried on playing. We had some great gigs all around London.
Yeah.
And then we recorded a follow-up, She Said Yeah, and it was given to Decca, and we heard nothing.
Oh, no.
We heard nothing, and that was in 1965.
Yeah.
But then in 2018, I had an email from this guy in Los Angeles saying we found the acetate. And we played it to Roddy Jackson, who'd written it with the late Sonny Bono.
Yeah.
And Roddy gave it the thumbs up, and it was released in June 2018.
That's mad.
So
where are they keeping it for so
well,
long?
it was in Shell Talmy, who was working at Decca at the time, in 1965, another legendary producer, in his record collection. And they were going through it because he was in Los Angeles, and they moved to Los Angeles and they found it in there.
That's mental.
Mental.
Yeah.
So it's on YouTube.
Is it, what was the name of it? She Said Yeah.
She Said Yeah.
The President.
The Presidents, yeah. Sadly, our dear old bass player, Tony, He died in February 2020.
Oh, Christ.
But he's there for his grandchildren to see playing, so it's great.
Absolutely. Have you managed to do any, obviously before he passed, had you managed to do any sort of reunion gigs or anything?
We did. One of the songs I did, More Love Required. We did that as a video. He was on that, and he also played on English Country Girl, which is the thing I did with a young lady in the village here.
I remember that one. Yeah. I remember listening to that.
Yeah,
that was I quite liked that one.
Yeah, it was good.
English
country thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm a big fan of country music.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
I love it because obviously, my granddad.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously when you were teaching me guitar, I would also go to my granddad's and he'd teach me a little bit, and he brought me up on all Johnny Cash and Alan Jackson and country music and stuff, and I really like it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a bit about some of the music actually worked, because I know that probably the one I know the most is you worked on David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust tour.
I was so lucky. My wife and I had this dream, and we'd bought a restaurant in Ibiza.
Oh yeah.
Which actually is madness, and I wouldn't recommend anybody to do it, because you'd never see the sun. You're in there from 6 a.m. till 12 at night.
Oh no.
So we gave that up and came back, and I had no job. And I went round to where Glyn Johns, who I was mentioning earlier, used to stay in Epsom, and there was this guy Nicky Graham, and he had a band called Tucky Buzzard.
Right.
And I said I got no job and everything, and we were chatting. He said, "Well, look, we need someone. We're just taking delivery of a new PA system." I said, "Oh, okay." So we picked it up and we did some rehearsals. Bill Wyman, the Rolling Stones ex-bass player, was going to produce their album.
Okay.
And we picked this PA up and rehearsed and did it, and I got the hang of it beautifully. And then eventually, later, they signed with Tony DeFries, who had just signed David Bowie. And Bowie was going to do a demo for some record executives.
Yeah.
And so Tony DeFries said, "Why don't Tucky Buzzard do a little warm-up session?" We set the PA up at the Camden Country Club in London. We did our set, which was pretty heavy metal, loud stuff.
Nice.
And finished. And then David went on to do his set. I think it was Mick Ronson and Rick Wakeman on keyboards with their own PA system, and it was dreadful.
Oh.
Absolutely dreadful. Feedback howl, and you could hardly hear, and it was awful. Anyway, when he had finished, we were packing our gear away, and I had this nudge on the shoulder, and it was Angie Bowie, and she said, "Can you come and talk to David?" So I went and talked to him, and he said, "How the devil could I hear everything your singer was singing with all that noise going on?" So I said, "Well, it's just the way I engineer it, I suppose."
Yeah.
He said, "We're going to rehearse with a new band. We've got to put a band together. We're going to go on tour. Can you come to the rehearsal?" So I said yes. So we took the PA, Tucky Buzzard's PA, to Beckenham Rugby Club, where the rehearsal, because he lived in Kent down that way.
Right, yeah.
At Haddon Hall, and set the PA up, and in he came, looking totally different. When I'd met him before, he had this long hair and flared trousers on, and now he came in with this mullet haircut, sort of reddish, and looking totally different. We just said 1, 2, 3, go, and they started playing, and thank God, it just worked. And he was just amazed, and I got the job. So I did the whole of the Ziggy Stardust project, and it was a wonderful experience, because I saw a man achieve his ambition.
Yeah.
There he was. Okay, he had Space Oddity as a hit, but he was struggling, trying to find a way forward, and then this alter ego made it all work. And luckily, with the contribution of the musicians and I can say it, my sound engineering, it opened it all up to an audience, and it was a wonderful experience for me, and and he was just elevated and just took off.
It's beautiful music.
Well, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I must confess, the only album I liked after that was Let's Dance. That one. The rest I didn't really. I didn't really like David's stuff particularly after that. But Ziggy Stardust was totally memorable. You know, it was, and the live show was very theatrical.
Oh, I bet it was.
Oh, fantastic!
That's so cool.
And people have bugged me because I used Mick Ronson, the late Mick Ronson, guitarist, always asked me. He said, "Record the show, just in case there's any slip-ups."
Right.
So I would record the show every night, and usually there was no slip-ups. So the next night I'd simply record over the show.
Right.
So when we got to the last show, there was this whole cassette, and in it went, and I recorded it, but David split the band up. So I had this recording, which I've kept all these years, and you can now get it on my website.
So the final Ziggy Stardust
The final Ziggy Stardust show at Hammersmith on July the 23rd in 1973. Nearly said 2000.
That's mad. What is your website? Where can people get it?
robinmayhew.co.uk.
Robbie Mayhew? robinmayhew.co.uk. The final Ziggy Stardust show.
In the music store, yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh, the comments from the Bowie fans that have actually acquired it are totally amazing, you know. No, it's a wonderful thing, you know.
Well, it's something different listening to a live recording than the studio version, isn't it? It's just a completely different.
Oh, it is. I mean, the actual album of the show, the record of the show that was released, is all cooked and edited, and there's a few different things on it, and bits are missing, you know. But here you get the whole raw thing. So
yeah. Is there anyone else sort of notable that you worked with as well? Other than
well, it went on to. I obviously met Lou Reed when I was working with David.
Oh, he's great.
And Lou Reed, and worked with him. We did Australia, Europe, the United States, on tour with him. An amazing experience.
Yeah.
And Lou, despite all the stories about Lou Reed, during that he was promoting an album called Sally Can't Dance, which never really did it, but it was so funky and 70s. It was great at that time. And the whole time, Lou Reed was not stoned out of his head. He wasn't. He was absolutely on form. Physically, he danced every night on stage, you know, and really fit as a fiddle.
That's mad. That's great.
Okay, he might have had the odd little smoke now and again, but
he doesn't. But on the tour, when working with David Bowie, did you do anything else except sound engineering, or?
Just prior to going on tour, before the Rise and Fall and Ziggy Stardust was released, Tony DeFries took me in art. We were in the offices, and he said, "Look, here's the acetate. Can you check the lyrics?" Just to make sure it's all okay before they're printed.
Yeah.
And so we're going through them. And anyway, we got to Ziggy Stardust. I was listening to it, and I heard David sing Leper Messiah. And yet it said Leather Messiah.
Yeah.
But it was definitely Leper, what he said. So I changed it to Leper. And then in Rock and Roll Suicide, it came up, the wall-to-wall is calling, but it sounded like the wall-to-wall is calling.
Yeah.
So I changed it like carpet.
Yeah.
So I wanted to lie down because it was Rock and Roll Suicide.
Yeah, of course.
So it made sense to me. So I changed it. And there it is. If you buy the album now, it's on there, Leper Messiah and Wall to Wall.
And was David Bowie fine with these?
Oh, yeah. He said, "Oh, that's great." He said, "Oh, we'll sing Leper in future then."
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Bit of writing as well. So after the success of, I don't know if you've seen them, the films like Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man, there's plans now with the same people to make a David Bowie film, particularly around the Ziggy Stardust time.
Oh.
Yeah, do you think we could see an actor portray Robin Mayhew on the screen?
Oh, that'd be amazing. Well, you could do it.
Yeah, I'd definitely have a go, yeah.
You could do it, yeah.
Yeah, no, I could put my acting chops.
Really, is
in
that
there.
true? I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, I think it's in pre-production at the moment, in the early stages. Obviously, everything's being slowed down because of the corona. But these music bio films are just getting really popular. I don't know if you watched Bohemian Rhapsody.
I did.
I prefer Rocket Man to Bohemian Rhapsody.
I haven't seen Rocket Man, but Bohemian Rhapsody I saw. I thought that was excellent, and I thought the casting was absolutely brilliant. I mean, it could have been Brian May.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Yeah, no, there's a David Bowie one in the works at the moment, but I don't know if they've cast anyone yet. I've not heard anything, but I just think that would be interesting.
Be fab, yeah. Maybe they'll approach me for some inside
for some consultation.
Stories.
That would be nice. But I'm sure hopefully they can check out stuff like your recording of the last show for some nice research.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Next, we're going to be getting to the essay that you want to talk about, and also a bit. We're going to do my segment, which is Courting with James, and that's all going to come after this. Okay, welcome back. The next thing that I want to ask you, going off your sort of music stuff, is that you've just written an essay, haven't you, about something a bit different than music?
Yeah, I wrote it in 2018.
Okay.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But it's called The Balance of Nature.
Right.
And it's about how every creature on planet Earth balances, except for humankind. Mankind has found ways of extending life, saving life, and all the rest of it, so the numbers continually grow.
Yeah.
And at the end of my essay in 2018, I said, to balance nature, what we need is a catastrophic plague or a war.
Oh, no.
And blimey, 2 years later, we have the COVID-19 strikes. And everybody, every scientist, everybody is protecting, trying to find a way. So again, the balance of nature is disturbed.
Yeah.
Now, if one looks at all this climate change business that's going on at the moment, and this worry, it's all down to the growth, the number of humans living on planet Earth.
Yeah.
I fear for my children, you'll fear for your children.
Absolutely.
That in the next, 50 to 100 years, something catastrophic will happen unless something changes.
Yeah.
And a balance must somehow be achieved. It's so humans through sort of greed develop, grow, multiply. Although it's childbirth has certainly tailed off a bit.
Yeah.
A projection is that in the next, by the end of the century, the planet really won't be able to support all those humans. I mean, when you think there was a thing on David Attenborough's programme where every year, I think, an area the size of the United Kingdom of forest is being flattened to grow crops and feed animals and all the rest of it, to feed humans. So if that goes on, if you look at a map of planet Earth and start blotting out all the green bits the size of the UK every year, it ain't going to last long.
Oh no. Yeah. That's
so you've got to somehow come to terms with the fact that you need to be married, have a sensible family, don't go mad, and these countries where there are multiple births, because there probably isn't contraception or something, and they have maybe 6, 7 children.
Yeah.
And we and countries like us have to help them to feed those children. I know that sounds morally disgusting to say, is that right? But is it right? Or should they balance? I mean, if an animal runs out of feed, those numbers will reduce until the grass or the whatever they feed on redevelops, and then they will start developing again. So if mankind wasn't on planet Earth, it would be a perfect balance with everything just balanced.
Yeah, that's a tough thing, a tough pill to swallow, isn't it?
It is.
We're the bad guys, aren't we?
Well, we look at us. I mean, here we are. We are inventive, creative. We've done it all, and if one also protracts onto this situation the fact that we have almost done it all, how can you make a white knuckle ride more scary?
Yeah.
By how much will Usain Bolt's 100-metre record be beaten? Not very much. So all those little things indicate to me that we're almost at the point where humans can't do any more.
Yeah.
We've got computers, we've got all this, we've got everything, electric cars, everything you can think of. We can fly, we can send rockets into space. OK, we can't do intergalactic travel yet, but what's the bloody point?
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, when you think of the decades, for example, there was a lot of technological jumps in like the 70s, the 80s, or the 50s,
Terrific,
the 80s. Yeah. But now it's proper slowed down.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like the newest phone or something with a little
Exactly.
thing, there's not that much new, is there?
Oh, when you think, yes, as you said, if you think of probably the 1700s through to now, the development has been absolutely amazing. Steam engines, cars, the whole thing developed, and this huge upward curve. And as you say, now it's just tweaking little bits.
Yeah.
Little things. We've almost done it all, and if that's an indicator to me. Okay, I'm 80. You're only 24.
Yeah, 24.
So you've got another 60 odd years to catch up.
Oh,
What's it going to be like in 60 years?
I don't know. The only thing that I'm truly interested in, which obviously I know you just said obviously what's the point, but space travel does interest me a lot. And I mean, is it a case of trying to find somewhere else that at least some of our population could live?
Well,
in the future?
I don't think. I mean, if you think of a radio wave which travels at the speed of light,
yeah.
If there were other humans living out in space on other planets, and we've been sending radio signals since the 1920s, something like that, or
Right.
yeah, about 1920s. They've gone a long way. Some of
Yeah.
those long wave radio signals, but there's been no replies
No.
in any form or other, not even a ...
But I mean, that doesn't mean planets are uninhabitable. It just means whatever's on them could not be at the technological stage.
So now it gets religious. Now it gets religious because if one throws the religion side and a god into it, maybe planet Earth with Adam and Eve is an experiment.
Yeah.
And we are the only one. He's saying, let's see what happens. And here we are in the next 50 to 100 years. It could all go pop. And he says, oh, that's the experiment. That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't think, personally, I think we're the only ones.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're the only intelligent creatures in the universe.
That's fair enough.
And that's just my little belief.
Yeah.
But it's the way I feel about it. You can go on to spiritual things after that,
No, absolutely. Are you a religious man?
I always used to go to church with my parents back in my childhood, but it's all been rather challenged now. I find the church not particularly constructive. They seem to have, the sermons don't really have anything, to me. I have my own spiritual belief. I just think we all have if we're good and we believe and we look after ourselves and we're kind and loving to other people, then our spirit will, when we die, a spirit will go on and other spirits will be there. And that's the way it is. I did a thing for YouTube, spiritual thing, Concept of Heaven.
Oh, wow.
Which is up there.
Yeah.
Only one comment.
Oh, no. We'll try and change that. Concept of Heaven, Robin Mayhew.
Yeah, my view of heaven, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, I think about it all the time. I'm mostly atheistic, I think.
Well, that, yeah. But you have a feeling of value and love.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to hurt anybody or do any harm, whereas other people, a lot of other people are really vile, and I don't want to meet those if there is an afterlife.
Yeah.
So I believe that if you're good and you believe in a place called heaven, your spirit will go there. You know. You know, I mean, as I don't know if I said at the beginning of my essay, I hate killing a fly.
Yes, yeah. You did.
I mean, to me, a spirit can come and inhabit any creature on the earth. You know, it can come and live in an insect, a mouse, a tree, anything, and experience what that feels like.
Yeah.
And it can also enter a newborn baby, the spirit, and be there. And the newborn baby can develop its own spirit, which will add to the spirits when it passes.
Yeah.
So you get this accumulation of good spirits. The bad spirits get left behind.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's quite a nice way to think about it. But no, I don't know. I've tackled with it a lot for a while. To be honest, my main opinion is if there is a God, he's got a lot to answer for.
Well, then it's like my essay. If coronavirus is a way that planet Earth, or perhaps God, is trying to correct the balance of nature.
I mean, possibly.
You know.
Yeah.
We don't know where. We have to make our own. I mean, it's a thing. It's a very deep subject.
It is, yeah.
But you know, I mean, people like Boris Johnson are stuck between a hard place and a rock. You know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But you know, maybe we should just let it go.
Yeah.
Gosh, you know,
how
all the young people, the chances of a young 15-year-old are like the same as being struck by lightning to die.
Yeah, no,
you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
only been a few.
So maybe, as I say, that little bit I added on the end of my essay, that maybe all these young people, spurred on by Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion and fear of how the planet will be in the next 50 to 100 years, psychologically have created this virus to affect everybody of the older generation, to remove them all so there's enough room
maybe
to balance nature.
You never know. But how because obviously I'm, like you said earlier, I'm 24, you're 80, we're wildly different generations. How have you personally been coping with the whole coronavirus thing? Because obviously you would be listed as vulnerable, I assume.
Yeah.
Of the vulnerable community. How has it changed your life in the past year?
No.
It hasn't much.
No, not really. I mean, we're lucky.
Yeah.
James, we live down here on the south coast, and it's touch wood.
Yeah.
But if I contracted it, then okay, my chances are, you know, I don't know. I would hate to give it to anybody if I had it. I may even have it now and don't know. I mean, you know, I don't know. I have felt a bit weird, but you know.
Thanks for telling me before I come round. But no, we are lucky to live in the South Coast in the countryside, because you got these apps on your phone which tell you how many cases are like in your area, reported cases. And we're doing okay at the moment. We're quite low.
It must be terrible for those people up north. You see, where they've got thousands of people all closely living together, you know, very difficult. And all the employment, you know, people in factories and all that sort of thing up there, they're all on top of each other. So you get this terrific chance of spread.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, you've got to get on with it. But there's, I mean, here you were saying just now, we're lucky. But when I go down to the village at 8:30 in the morning,
you're an early riser.
Yeah, my goodness, though, it's like chaos down there.
Yeah.
The number of people and cars, even in this coronavirus time bubble, it's incredible. All the school kids, all the cars everywhere trying to get into the station. I can't believe it. And we're still in. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like Piccadilly Circus down there half the time. And that's what frustrates me about the village that we live in, is that I wish it was just like a proper little village. It's very built up now. There's so many houses being built.
Oh.
It's so frustrating. But
it is. I mean, you know, I mean, my own thing is talking about population explosion and all that.
Yeah.
I'd love to turn the clock back to the 50s. I mean, you weren't around in the 50s, but my dad would take us out for a Sunday drive in the car because that was something to do, exciting.
Yeah.
There were no cars about, just one or two. But now, no thanks. It's just cars everywhere. And villages were villages.
Yeah.
The butcher, the greengrocer, the, hairdresser, and in the village. And you shopped there and you supported those local shops. But now it's all,
It's all connected.
huge supermarkets and retail centres and all that. It's all gone. Anyway.
No, that was a nice little tangent that we went on, Corona and stuff. I want to go into our history a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So of course we properly became close when I was about 14, 15, when you decided to teach me guitar.
Yeah, I don't know how... Were you 14, 15? Yeah.
I think I was in secondary school. I think I might have been about year 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So I think it must have been about that age.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've stayed close and in contact ever since. What did you think of my guitar playing? I don't know if you've heard it recently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've continued.
Yeah.
Yes. You've obviously found your own way around things. I've heard you strumming away. Yeah.
Yeah,
very
no.
good.
I find it a really nice hobby because it's very stress relieving.
Good.
Just to pick up a guitar and just play away, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Mind you, I over the last couple of years, I've hardly done anything. I mean, I've really been lapsed. I mean, there it is.
Yeah.
My Telecaster. But I haven't done much. I'm working on a song I wrote in 1988
Oh wow. Okay.
called Crises.
Yeah.
And a guy in Australia, Johnny Justin, who was Australia's answer to Mark Bolan
Okay.
back in the 70s, great fan of Mick Ronson, and that's how I've come to know him. He's a great guitarist. He's currently putting a guitar solo on it for me.
Oh,
So
wow.
when I get it back, I shall listen to it and maybe shove it out.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, we'd love to play it on the show.
Yeah,
when it
Crisis,
comes out.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. No, definitely.
All right. No, your guitar playing, I heard you strumming in the garden sometimes. No,
Yeah.
it's good.
I know, I love it. I love
Good.
playing a bit. I've done a bit of writing before, but at the moment I just like to whack some chords up and just play away. It's just nice and soothing,
Good.
isn't it?
Yes.
But good. Well, we are going to get to a very popular segment on the show called Courting with James.
Yes.
Which I'll explain to you in a bit, just after this. Welcome back. So now we're going to do one of my favourite segments on the show, Courting with James, which you've not listened to the show yet. So basically it's where me and the guest would look up some sort of relationship advice and we would give them advice and give them advice out. But I was thinking today, because you've been married to your wife, Mardi, for many years.
54 years.
That's an amazing amount of time. That's a brilliant relationship. I just sort of wondered if you had any advice for a long-lasting relationship.
You keep her locked in a cupboard. No. No, we met when I had the band back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And fell in love and loved her ever since.
Yeah.
And still love her today. But it's we had our 2 boys, Ben and Ollie. We've always, I suppose, we've both been pretty creative in our own ways. We've always wanted to do things and experiment and try things.
Yeah.
Okay, I had all my rock and roll years, and she was bringing up the 2 boys while I was on tour, so I didn't have much to do with that. So she was involved in that when I was applying myself all to the rock and roll. And then we went into retail. And of course, working together in retail, you're sharing ideas all the time, which help the bond because you're discussing it. No arguments, you're discussing how you could possibly succeed.
Yeah.
And then we moved and we had a guest house up in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
So it was a new experiment and
Yeah.
exciting. All our friends would come and visit at Christmas and New Year. So there'd be this family thing, which was a very close family and friends, bonding us all together, which was wonderful. And life has just been, love and cherishing each other and appreciating what each other does,
Yeah.
She looks after me, I look after her,
Yeah.
and we do a bit, and we've managed to succeed.
Yeah.
And it's been a wonderful life.
Oh, that's really great. Do you have any memories in particular, like favourite memories that you and Mardy have shared?
Gosh, everything's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, for the period of time we lived in Scotland, it was, although the weather was rubbish,
Yeah.
it was a wonderful time with friends and family coming up to see us, because that would be like an occasion, and we'd look forward to them coming, and then they'd arrive, and we'd have, and they'd go. And we moved 3 times while we were in Scotland. We had the guest house, then we went back into retail. And all the time, my 2 boys, they had their motorbikes, started to do motocross and this sort of thing. And obviously, dear Ben, my older son, broke his leg 3 times, I think, so he's stopped motorbiking now.
Wow.
But all those things, Mardy and I, we've had to pull together and look after and help and be with,
Yeah.
So those are the important things. And marriage. I mean, marry that person you love and keep them and cherish them. I can't understand. You hear people on the television, I'm on my 3rd husband, or and I think, well, hang on a minute. I mean, I don't understand that. But there again, it goes back into religion, I suppose, and being married in church, as we were, and it's a bond, and it sticks you together,
Well, nowadays I think people give up too easily.
Yes.
I don't think they know or put in the effort to get through these challenges and these trials, and they just give up and they move on to the next person.
Move on to the next person.
Yeah.
Or is it? I don't know if it's sexual lust or I don't know. I don't know. But if you love that person and you opt and you decide to get married, then honour that. You've made that commitment and do it, unless something catastrophic happens. But I do despair a bit for modern society, the way it's going.
Yeah, it's changed so much. I'm really I find like relationships and love and things like that really interesting. Like I read books on like modern romance and things, and I find it so interesting how meeting people and forming relationships have changed so much over the years. So like obviously how you would have met Mardy is so much more different than how a young person now meets someone else with like Tinder and the dating apps and things.
Yes.
And it's just mad how much it's changed.
Oh, yes. I mean, meeting Mardy, seeing her the first few times. I mean, she would come to the Red Lion Club with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I would see her and think, oh, she's gorgeous, and gradually, luckily, she obviously thought the same about me, which was wonderful, and we fell in love, and it went on from there.
That's great.
So all those years of joy,
Nice organic meeting,
Yeah.
That's what I like, because I've had a few previous girlfriends, and I've met them like online through apps and stuff. My current girlfriend, Sweet Tea, she I met her through work, and just I don't know what it was, but just meeting in person and just organically stumbling upon that person, then walking into your life, it just I don't know. Just
that's
better.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Electronic meeting, I don't think is the way. I mean, they paint a picture of themselves. I don't know. I've never looked at it.
Yeah.
But they obviously paint a picture of themselves with a photograph, and I don't know. It just no. You need, like you said, you met to get at work, so you're rubbing shoulders, and you think, I like the way she, and talks and does that.
Yeah.
I can see. So you fall for her,
Exactly.
and that's the wonderful thing, rather than trying to like take it off the shelf. I mean, no.
Have you ever watched? I don't know if you've watched things like Louis Theroux documentaries or anything like that. Have you ever heard of polyamorous relationships?
No.
It's this thing now that there's a few people, not many people do it, but a few people do it, and they do have documentaries on it where it's like more than two people in a relationship. So there'll be like a man and two women, or like the woman will also have like a boyfriend and the man will also have a girlfriend, and there'll be like a four, and it's just very strange. And they're trying to like sort of define the concept of like relationships and loves. It's not taken off very much, but there is a very certain group of people that are into it, and they think that humans were not meant to be monogamous, and that monogamous is in just with one other person, and that they think humans should share their relationships with each other and things. And I just find it very...
Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff that's going on at the moment about transgender and all that. Okay, I can understand. I went through a period at school. I wasn't gay or anything, but some of the guys, we were sort of, there was a closeness.
Yeah.
Like a not a sexual thing or anything like that, but and I could
bond.
But now you've got these things. I mean, going back to population and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got in America the growth of lesbian and gay numbers. Maybe that's another way of balancing nature. I don't know. It's a weird world, but relationships, I believe, love. Once you made those vows, stick together, be there, bring your children up, loving, and if you're a loving couple, your children grow up with that same instinct, that, and thank God, my two boys have been married for years, and we've got two grandchildren, and happy families.
That's great.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah. So you still obviously stay in contact with your sons and everything. It's all good. See, that's great. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to have a family.
And the family.
Yeah.
I mean, we see our grandchildren. It's wonderful. Okay, they're 20 and 18. My grandchildren.
Yeah.
I mean, there they are. They are adult, and it's lovely because we all love each other, and they love Mardy and me because we're all a family, and I love it.
Absolutely, that's a good.
So good luck with your courting.
Thank you. But that's another thing that I've found nowadays. I find that a lot of people try and define life by their career and not their family. I think making a family and finding someone you love, having children with that, getting a house, I think that's one of the best ways that you can define your whole life ever. I think it's good to be career driven, but I think you should try and find the right balance of both.
Definitely.
It's like in a moment, obviously you've got the big feminist movement, and there's a lot of women that are being pushed to obviously find their career and do their own thing, which is great. But it gets to the point sometimes where when you get women that the main thing is they want to be a mum or they want to have a family, they get like insulted for it. Yeah. And I don't think that's right.
No.
I mean, for me, I have a great, obviously, I really want to get a career in podcasting. I want to be a presenter and stuff like that. But I would happily have a family and look after a family while my wife is doing her thing. I would happily do that.
Yeah.
Because I just think having a family is just one of the greatest achievements in life. Yeah.
Yes, it is. But keep a sensible number.
Yeah, sensible number.
8 children is I don't that it gets silly when it goes up in those numbers.
I don't think I could do that.
No, I mean you've got to start.
Finally, one thing that I've been dying to talk to someone from the older generation about is nowadays. I don't know how much you keep involved in like the news nowadays, but recently it was World Mental Health Day, which is obviously a day where people are trying to bring awareness to mental health and things like depression and anxiety and things like that. And you get a lot of older people that are like, obviously like, oh, well, we've been through a war, we didn't have mental health back then, we just, put our boots on and got with it. And I just sort of wondered what your view is of mental health, if you think it's important or if you have that sort of view or something like that.
Well, I suppose going back to what we were saying about the human race and having almost done everything, this amazing amount of depression there is now. One reads about people depressed, taking antidepressants. I mean, one of the most widely prescribed drugs now will be the antidepressants.
Yeah.
Probably because there's nothing much more to imagine, and therefore to be creative and do anything, it's difficult to find a niche that you can develop and do, because it's all been done.
Yeah.
So I think there is a mental stress. You can't escape because everything is done. If it's not done, it's on the television coming at you, and you're just left in despair. So I think there is a real worry for the human mind that there is a lot of mental stress at the moment.
Yeah.
Because people can't really develop their ideas. Well, they haven't got the ideas to develop aren't there.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, it's all just refinements now, little tweaks and this and that. And you've got to be a brilliant brain to find that tweak to get the excitement.
Yeah.
I mean, Dyson invented the vacuum cleaner, but what's he doing now?
Yeah.
He's made all his money, but can he find another thing? No.
I think a lot of it is to do with the fact I think life was just simpler quite a few years ago. And if you think about it now, it's hard to get a job now. It's hard to buy a house. You've got people judging you on your looks and what you think on social media. Whereas years and years and years ago, it wasn't as hard to get a house, and you could get a simple job with a simple family. You didn't have anything to as much to worry about.
Absolutely right.
I just think there's just a lot of pressure put on people in society nowadays, and I think obviously moving forward is really important, but I feel like in some ways we do need to take some steps back.
Honestly, we're going over ground we went on earlier.
Yeah.
With the population.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, as you rightly say. I mean, wonderful back in those. I mean, when I started work at Plan Airs in Leatherhead, doing aircraft air conditioning, it was.
Yeah.
It was great. Little job. Had my motorbike. Go there, apprentice, then in the drawing office.
Yeah.
And so easy, just lovely way of life. But now, as you say, it must be so difficult for you guys like you, trying to find that niche to go into.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's difficult.
Very difficult.
Can't answer it just us two.
No.
But
maybe we'll get an answer from somebody who listens to this.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, come on.
Tweet at me, at the Court of James. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show
thank
today.
you.
It's been great to sit down and talk to you for a bit. We're going to finish by playing one of your songs that you've let us add, Katie, the one that you've sent to Greg James.
Yeah. I sent it to Greg James. That's right. Yes, it's Greg James.
So hopefully this will get it a few more listens as well. It's Katie. Tune in next week, guys. My girlfriend Sweet Tea is going to be back, and we've got some great topics that we're going to be talking about. And thank you again, Robin.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. No worries, and I'll see you guys all next week.
Something about the way you stand, it takes my